In the story of the 20th century, a century of empires falling, nations rising, and the world engulfed in war, one name stands out like a monument carved into stone: Douglas MacArthur. He wasn't just a general, he was a force of nature, brilliant, flawed, larger than life. For over 50 years, he walked at the very center of history's storms, commanding armies, reshaping nations, and leaving a legacy that would outlive him. Douglas MacArthur came into this world on January 26, 1880, in Little Rock, Arkansas. Military blood ran through his veins. His father, Arthur MacArthur Jr., was already a celebrated hero of the Civil War, a man of medals and courage. His mother, Mary Pinckney Hardy, was a proud Virginian woman with ambition burning in her heart. From the start, she told her son, "You must grow up to be a great man." And she wasn't joking. The family's life was never settled. They moved from post to post, following his father's army assignments. Discipline, patriotism, and the sound of marching boots were the soundtrack of his childhood. Young Douglas soaked it all in. When it came time for his formal training, he entered West Point in 1899. His mother even moved into a hotel nearby to keep an eye on him. Imagine that. Your mom living just outside your college to make sure you succeed. And succeed he did. Douglas graduated in 1903, first in his class, one of the highest-ranking students in the history of the academy. Not just smart, he was driven, confident, and a natural leader. Classmates said he carried himself like he was born to command. His early career took him to places like the Philippines and Japan, where he started learning about Asia, knowledge that would later define his career. In 1914, during the U.S. occupation of Veracruz, Mexico, he showed fearless courage on a mission under fire, earning his first Silver Star. But it was World War I that truly launched him into legend. When America joined the war in 1917, MacArthur was a major assigned to the 42nd Rainbow Division. He quickly became its chief of staff, and unlike many officers, he didn't lead from behind. He was there, on the front lines, sharing the mud, the fear, the danger. He was gassed, he was shot at. He nearly died more than once. By the time the guns fell silent in 1918, he wore the stars of a brigadier general and carried home a chest full of medals: 7 Silver Stars, 2 Distinguished Service Crosses, and the Distinguished Service Medal. In peacetime, MacArthur rose even higher. By 1930, he was the youngest chief of staff of the U.S. Army. Tall, sharply dressed, with his trademark cap and corncob pipe, he wasn't just a general, he was a symbol. He modernized the Army, pushed for air power, and prepared for the next great conflict he knew was coming. Yet controversy dogged him. In 1932, he ordered troops to disperse the bonus army, World War I veterans protesting in Washington for their promised pay. The sight of soldiers confronting their fellow veterans left a lasting stain on his reputation. In 1935, MacArthur went to the Philippines to help build its defense forces before its planned independence. He loved the islands, felt at home there, and it was there that he met Jean Faircloth, the woman who became his wife and the mother of his only son. Life seemed peaceful for a time. Then came December 1941. Hours after Pearl Harbor, Japanese forces struck the Philippines. MacArthur commanded the U.S. Army forces in the Far East. He fought hard, but the odds were impossible. His troops were pushed back to Bataan and Corregidor. In March 1942, under orders from President Roosevelt, MacArthur was forced to leave. Standing before the press in Australia, he made a promise that would echo through history: "I shall return." And return he did. From Australia, he masterminded a campaign across the Pacific, inventing the island hopping strategy, striking at key Japanese positions, leaving others isolated to wither. Victory followed victory. In October 1944, he strode ashore at Leyte in the Philippines, wading through the surf as cameras rolled, and declared, "People of the Philippines, I have returned." It wasn't just a promise kept, it was triumph. By 1945, Japan was defeated. On September 2nd, aboard the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay, MacArthur accepted Japan's surrender. The war was over. With quiet gravity, he spoke, "Today, the guns are silent. A great tragedy has ended. A great victory has been won." But his greatest work wasn't in war, it was in peace. As the supreme commander of the Allied powers in post-war Japan, MacArthur rebuilt a shattered nation. He wrote a new constitution, gave women the right to vote, reformed land ownership, and laid the foundation for modern, democratic Japan. Former enemies came to respect, even admire him. Then came Korea, 1950. When North Korea invaded the South, MacArthur was called once again. At first, the war looked lost, but his daring, amphibious landing at Incheon turned everything around. Yet as victory seemed near, China intervened. MacArthur wanted to strike back hard, even suggesting nuclear options. President Truman said no. The two clashed bitterly, and in April 1951, Truman made a stunning decision. He relieved MacArthur of his command. The nation was shocked, but when MacArthur returned home, he was greeted as a hero. Before Congress, he gave his famous farewell. "Old soldiers never die, they just fade away." It was the closing chapter of a life lived on the edge of history. Douglas MacArthur spent his final years quietly, writing his memoirs and advising presidents behind closed doors. He died on April 5th, 1964, at the age of 84, honored with a state funeral. He was brilliant. He was controversial. He was human. Some saw him as a savior, others as dangerously arrogant. But no one could deny his impact. He shaped wars, rebuilt nations, and left a legacy that still stands. And maybe that's why, even now, when we think of the words he cherished, duty, honor, country, we think of him. Douglas MacArthur, the American Caesar.